wanted to highlight this because this is an enormously important development, and it's just one of the many ways that the Trump administration is harming all of us. Well, at least 50% of the population. Since the early 90s, 1991, the NIH has been studying women's health. They started this women's health initiative because there is a major gap in research for women's health, because historically, I mean, there are still people alive now when this was the case. Research on medicine and health outcomes has largely been focused on male subjects. That's not just for women, even when they use animal studies. It's more focused on male animals in clinical trials historically. And so this has resulted in poorer health outcomes for women, particularly women of color, LGBTQ people. There's been lots of misdiagnoses, less understanding about pain. I mean, things like hysterectomies were widely given out to women based on pain that they were experiencing that could have been solved with less intervention. I mean, that's an extremely painful and difficult surgery. And that could have happened if health outcomes had been better understood. And so the NIH in the 90s started to look into this and wanted to launch a major study to fill in the gaps in studying women's symptoms and so that their health care is better. Trump is gutting this study. Let's put up this article from Science magazine. President Donald Trump's administration appears to be killing much, if not all, of a historic initiative that was the first and is still the largest National Institutes of Health effort centered around the health needs of women. The Women's Health Initiative, WHI, has enrolled tens of thousands of participants in clinical trials of hormones and other medications and tracked the health of many thousands more over more than 3 decades. Its findings have had a major influence on healthcare. WHI leaders announced yesterday that contracts supporting its regional centers are being terminated in September, and that the study's clinical coordinating center, based at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, will continue operations until January 2026, after which time its funding remains uncertain. They added that the contract terminations for its 4 main sites will significantly impact ongoing research and data collection, severely limiting WHI's ability to generate new insights into the health of older women, one of the fastest growing segments of our population. There are about 55 million postmenopausal women in the United States. Scientists familiar with the initiative, whose annual funding is currently just under $10 million. This is like this is like a penny in your couch cushion in terms of what the federal government spends.
I was going to underline that for like the type of impacts, like just to underline, like the World Women's Health Initiative challenged long-held beliefs about the benefits of hormone therapy for preventing heart disease in postmenopausal women, revealed that combined estrogen, this is just one example, progestin hormone therapy actually increased the risk of heart disease. Like these sorts of things for $10 million, that's like a not high-level NBA player's salary per year.
No, you're coming off the bench. Yeah. This is nothing for the federal government that spends trillions and trillions of dollars. It's like you picking up a pack of gum at the gas station.
An economic analysis estimated a $35.2 billion savings in medical expenses in the decade following the release of WHI's hormone therapy results due to fewer cardiovascular disease and breast cancer cases. That's $10 million a year program. Yep.
This trial just taught us an immense amount about the prevention of disease in women, says Sarah Temkin, a gynecological oncologist, who until the 11th of April was Associate Director for Clinical Research in the Office of Research on Women's Health at NIH. This is a terrible thing to have happen. Scroll to the next paragraph if we could. NIH's National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute has largely funded WHI, launched in 1991 under NIH's first woman director, Bernadine Healy. It was hugely ambitious, focusing on treatments that might prevent heart disease, breast and colon cancer, and bone fractures from osteoporosis in postmenopausal women. More than 160,000 women participated in its initial clinical trials, or were later tacked into its observational study or community prevention extension arms. It soon produced key findings, including, and Matt just alluded to this, that combined estrogen and progesterone pills taken for menopausal symptoms did not prevent heart disease in women after menopause. The follow-up of patients has continued to yield insights, such as that calcium and vitamin D supplementation does not prevent fractures in postmenopausal women, which was, I remember literally, my mother telling me about this kind of thing when she was going through her own health issues with breast cancer. And as these things were developing, it gave women in that age bracket a better understanding of their health care. It should be noted that this study, because it's been going on for 30 years, is now more focused on postmenopausal women, which the Trump administration doesn't care about because you're no longer a baby-making factory for them. Because he's talking about being the fertility president and borrowing all of these Viktor Orban-style natalist policies, and Elon Musk is pro-natalist, basically saying that the white birth rate in European and countries in the United States is too low. They're eugenicists for anybody that isn't in the cohort that they view as the dominant race or gender, or serving to further create the dominant race in their mind. So once the woman can't have children anymore, if she was never able to, well, they're basically useless at that point. So why not just cut this study? That's couch cushion money for us. This was really meant as a makeup project for women, because women have been excluded from research for so many years, says Garnet Anderson, a biostatistician who runs the WHI Coordinating Center. Anderson says WHI currently enrolls 42,000 women who update their researchers regularly on their health. The contract cut will prevent researchers at WHI's 4 sites from continuing to interact with women in this cohort, which has enabled researchers to create the country's largest data set on women in their 80s and 90s. Our ability to understand what's going on with those women will be severely curtailed, Anderson says. They have been dedicated to this process for 30 years and provide their data generously. They've told us they want to be followed. It would be disrespectful not to do that. So there you go. That's just one of the ways that the Trump administration is harming all of us, or anybody that cares about a woman who is postmenopausal, has mothers, has family members, has people that they care about, let alone what we're seeing, the gutting of cancer research into other diseases, just slashed for no apparent reason except for the fact that this actually pairs nicely with what I was talking about earlier. A fundamentally eugenicist worldview. The slashing of USAID is going to kill millions if they keep this up in Africa, across different countries there, because of the HIV prevention measures that the United States was funding, in part due to Bush, by the way. Maybe one of the only good things that George W. Bush did in his administration was back up that research. Just cutting it. Sentencing all of these children to death and to HIV and potentially AIDS because the administration thinks this is a handout to the global South, which we already exploit for capitalism, right? During deindustrialization, with the gutting of unions to make goods cheaper, and with all of this focus on consumption as opposed to workers' rights, we have outsourced the worst of capitalist exploitation to the global South, almost reifying what we did under colonialism and extending it. And the Trump administration sees the people who are bearing the brunt of this as takers, as opposed to the obvious victims of our economy that's so favored towards us.
Well, that's the dirty little secret about this whole birth rate thing, is that it's a relative issue, not an overall issue. I don't believe Elon just wants more and more people. He wants people that have his genetics.
He said
close
that.
to his genetics, and and it's of course, you know, in other countries, one way to make our the Elon approved birth rates look better is just have the other ones come down a little bit, and their quality of life worse, because then it's relatively better. But also, again, 40% of births in America, and it's close to 50% when you get to rural areas, are covered by Medicaid, and they're slashing that. They're going after it. So, like, he does not care about, in a way, this is, he looked at as a depopulation agenda being
Absolutely.
Approached under the guise of some sort of pronatalism. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just like that what you're saying is exactly right, because what Elon says, that we have a population problem in terms of like the population isn't increasing, but we see the data that shows that it is globally, but it's not in certain places. It's not in certain places like the United States, where some women are choosing maybe not to have children because it's too expensive. Like, the biggest problem is that we don't have the capacity to support people to have children, but they distort that.
Oh, here's $5,000.
Yeah, they distort that into, well, you know, it's the problem with everybody else. It's the immigrants, they're takers. This is why you can't have the life that you've dreamed of, and you want to have children and you can't support your family. It's because of these people, as opposed to it's literally them scamming the rest of us. And this is what the agenda of the and the other point, and I'll wrap up here, is that RFK's agenda also fits into this, where he essentially views people with diseases or disabilities as
a price tag
and disgusting. He's disgusted by them, and so that is the anxiety he taps into. People want to feel empowered over their healthcare and their family's healthcare. And if they're pregnant and they have this anxiety that maybe their child may have a disability, he sells you snake oil that makes you feel like you can control it. But once people are born, what is the administration doing? Cutting funding, cutting support for these folks. And speaking about autistic people in general in this really dehumanizing way. And you kind of see where that's going, right? Where if you don't make the right choices about your healthcare, which RFK is giving people all the tools, but not the finances, in the same way that they're approaching the global South. Well, it's survival of the fittest, folks.
The first thing he mentioned was they'll never pay taxes. That is not an accident. That is because he views them as a cost, a burden. And this is true of when he was running for president, and he wasn't a pro-universal healthcare guy, because from his aristocratic-ass perch, he views your health problems as too expensive to guarantee by Uncle Sam.
Exactly right. Clumsy Poet, I had estrogen-positive breast cancer 3 years ago. I had my ovaries removed as a part of the treatment, surgical menopause. Now I'm on a med to prevent further bone density loss. All of this has impacted my ADHD and autism. It feels like the government is trying to hurt me. I'm so sorry. I mean, this is the reality. Alice in Portland. Hi, all. I've been living with stage 4 ovarian cancer since 2022, and I'm receiving care through Medicaid in Oregon. I'd love to share my experience and talk about all of the different types of care that are covered for me, highlighting how comprehensive the coverage is, including how treatments related to the study you're talking about, regarding hormones, post-radical hysterectomy, etc. If this is something you would like to hear about, let me know. I'll call in. Yes, Alice, please call in and just write in what your area code is. We will flag it. And JD's pants. The nephew of Rosemary Kennedy, a eugenicist? I'm shocked. And you don't have to look too far into the Kennedy history to see what their experience is with people who
lobotomizing people?
Yeah, I mean, but that's what happened to, when you say you never saw autistic people, that's what happened to folks with disabilities or people that were lobotomized. They were institutionalized and warehoused and abused. And that's the vision that the Trump administration has for the rest of us.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.